Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks for tuning in to The Ordinary Filmmaker. Subscribe to get notification of new videos like this one so you don't miss any news, rumors, gear reviews, or tutorials. And to make things more exciting, I'm giving away a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. Details are in the description down below, or you can watch this video here, but please look at the terms and conditions as there are some age and location restrictions. And now for the news. According to Sony rumors, the Sony A9 Mark III will be announced at CES, which is in just over 3 weeks. We also got word from Nakashita that 2 Sony cameras have been registered, which are likely the A7 IV and the A9 Mark III. We'll know in 3 weeks if the A9 Mark III will drop. 8K video and a price tag of $6,000 places it at a 50% premium over the Canon EOS R5. Not sure what to believe. Sony rumors hasn't all that been reliable with the Sony A7S III, so I'm not going to get carried away with this until, of course, we get some sort of announcement, or the site sonyrumors.com at least reports some leaked specs from reliable sources. Canon dropped C-Log 3 for camcorders, but left Canon R5 and R6 owners feeling like a child that didn't get their favorite toy for Christmas and instead got socks and underwear. The R5 and the R6 are expected to get C-Log 3 in a firmware update within the next 3 months. The United States banned US companies from selling components to DJI, the maker of popular drones like the Mavic Pro and stabilizers like the Ronin S. This is part of an ongoing trade dispute between China and the United States with no resolution in sight. Nikon is moving camera production to Thailand. By the end of 2021, Nikon camera bodies will no longer be made in Japan, but the factory, well, it's still going to be used by Nikon for other products, though no details on what those other products might be. The Canon Speedlight EL1 is going to be available in October. Sorry, it was mentioned in October. It was announced in October, and it's going to be available in February. The lower cost EL10, well, that should be available in the second half of 2021. Canon R5 owners with the Angelbird CF Express cards experience a 5-second delay on boot. That's being fixed in a firmware update. You can download the Windows Update off Angelbird's site. A Mac version is coming soon. And while the news cycle has been slow in December, I used it as an opportunity to finish working on my full review of the Canon EOS R5. I've had the R5 since around July 24th and was eager to be the first out with a review, but there was an awful lot of news or noise about the overheating, so I decided to wait until a stable version of the camera was out due to firmware updates. And based on your feedback over the past 5 months, this review has morphed into a comparison of capabilities offered by the R5, the R6, and the EOS R. If you're interested in either camera, give this video a look. And if you like staying informed, subscribe and choose all notifications to get notified as soon as a new video is published. But now, it's time to answer your questions. Got a question for next week's video? Post it in the comments below, and I might be answering your question next week. And now, for our first question. Day asks, I purchased the Angelbird CF Express 512GB card for my R5, and I do run into 5-second delay every time I start the camera. Do you think Angelbird will do an update soon to fix the issue that you mentioned a while ago? So this question was actually asked a couple of weeks ago, and well, I didn't really have any answers for you. But today, Angelbird sent me a notification saying that they do have a fix, a firmware fix, up on the website. Right now, it's just for Windows. A Mac version will be following up shortly, so it will take care of the problem. Why it took 5 seconds, I don't really know. All I know is that they've said they've addressed it in a firmware update, so go ahead and download that and let me know how it goes. I haven't tried it yet, just simply because I have Macs. I have about 3 or 4 of them in my house, and not one of them is running Windows, so I'm just going to have to wait a little while longer. Renee asks, a website named burgercamera.com states that you can bypass IPB on the Canon R6 while using the Ninja 5. But I think that the processor in the camera works with IPB before sending the signal out for H.265 coding or through the HDMI. Renee, the external recorder such as the Ninja 5 takes the output from HDMI, and what you're getting over HDMI is basically everything coming out from the sensor, not processed whatsoever, so there's no codecs or anything like that applied. So you're not getting IPB, but you're also not getting all I, you're just getting all the information. And then what the external recorder does, it takes that information and based on how you've told it you want the data, it'll put it into Apple ProRes RAW, Apple ProRes 422. It'll put it into an Avid format. And I personally like ProRes, and so that's one of the great options of using an external recorder like the Ninja 5 is you don't have to be stuck with what Canon has decided to give you. You can choose your own format. Mohammed asks, "Hi, I finally ordered the R6 because the R5 won't be available for many months. Does mounting a Ninja 5 accelerate post and prevent overheating at 4K 60? Well, Mohammed, we're dealing with two things here, 4K 60 and does it save you time in post? Let me address saving time in post. I recently did a review, this one here, on the Ninja 5. I had it for several weeks. And I recorded several videos. I recorded short videos, and I recorded my Q&A sessions, which quite often will take anywhere from 70 to 90 minutes of actual solid recording. And the one thing there is not having to get up and stop the camera right around 25 minutes or so. That alone is huge. The second thing, the battery lasts a lot longer. I was able to get my batteries to last up to 3 hours because the Ninja 5 is doing all the work. It's not recording, it's not generating heat writing to cards. And in terms of processing time, on my longer videos, I was actually able to save about 40+%. And here's where you get that savings. You're not having to, first of all, move the files. So I don't have to move the files off the SSD onto my computer because I can actually work off the SSD. All I do is I remove the SSD, put it into an SSD caddy, mount it in the computer, and I'm good to go. Second, because I'm choosing to export in Apple ProRes 422, which my editing software, Final Cut, edits like butter, there's no transcoding, there's no converting those files. As soon as I'm finished recording, I'm ready to edit, and that literally saved me 3 to 4 hours on one of those longer projects. So in post-processing, it's saving you a ton of time. Plus, I've actually got a better file container. I've got more data. It's a win-win situation there. And the next part of your question was related to, let me check down here, 4K 60. So whatever mode you're recording in, whether it be, well, you can't record 8K, so 4K 60 is the highest resolution for the Ninja 5. Whether you're doing 4K 60, 4K HQ, it's going to generate significantly less heat. Now, I don't know what the time is with 4K 60, but I was able to record 4K HQ for 90 minutes straight, and I think I did a test for about 2 hours. So it definitely records an awful lot longer by a magnitude of 2 to 3 or 4 times what you would get by default. So that is rather significant. And even outside, I was getting a lot more time. So Mohammed, I can honestly say that this device, if you buy it, and your time is really valuable to you, you're going to make your money back on the first video that you do. The return on investment on a, let's say, a 1 hour video is you're saving yourself hours, and it's rather significant. Ali asks, "Hey Simon, do you use a rig or external monitor on your camera setup?" No, currently I'm not. If I had an external recorder, I would be using that right now. I think they're really incredible. I can look up, I can see exactly how I'm framed. I can tell if I'm recording right now, because right now if the EOS R stopped recording, there's only one way that I can tell. And at the end of each question, I pause, I advance the slide, and then I do something like this. And what I'm doing is I'm listening for that focus motor in the 50mm, the RF 50mm f1.2. And I also, before I do that, I look down here and I can see the recording time on my task cam. And once it gets to around 25 minutes, that's when I stop it. I go behind the camera and I press record button twice, so to stop recording and start recording. So with an external recorder like the Ninja 5, I don't have to worry about all of that. I can record to my heart's content. I can just focus on the content, and that is really, really huge. So I think that's really good. But for most of the stuff that I'm doing, other than that, no, I don't have one. I don't need one here when I'm out doing, I was going to say run and gun work, fun and gun work, as I like to call it. I just don't want that extra weight. I don't really see much of a benefit. But if I'm doing a studio setup outside and I'm recording, then yeah, it really helps to have at least a monitor. An external recorder is great too. And I really do want to have an external recorder, Ninja 5 on this channel, but it's just one of those things that right now it's extra money and it isn't providing me any extra value. I know what you're thinking, but Simon, you just said it saves you tons of time. It does. But you got to realize how much content I actually produce and how much time I have in the evening. So if it takes a while to transcode or copy off the computer, that's fine. I let it copy and I go upstairs and do other things. It's not like I'm wasting time. It's not like I have a ton of client jobs that I have to get out the door. So for me, It's definitely a major want, but it's not a major need. I'm glad that instead of getting the Ninja 5, I chose to get the RF 50mm f1.2, the 2x extender, and the 800mm. I'm really excited by those products. And stay tuned over the next week. I'm trying to get some more clear nights. I've shot a lot of the moon. I've shot Jupiter and Saturn, and I'm trying to shoot more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together literally a half-an-hour video. And all it is, there's no talking head. It's just pictures of the moon slowly moving. It's Saturn and Jupiter, set to some slow music. And what that's designed for is just to help people who have trouble sleeping to have something they can watch while they're getting ready to fall asleep. And it's just, I love it. So, believe it or not, I dumped out a copy last night, about around 20 minutes. It's not quite there yet, and I couldn't stop watching it. It's just, for me, it's awe-inspiring. And then what I'll probably do after that is I'll do a how-to, how I did each of these scenes, kind of like a talking track, and I'll do that over top. So, no, I don't use any external recorders right now, but there is some kit that I use, but I'm going to save that for another question because somebody's going to talk to me about or ask me a question about teleprompters and other things that I'm using in my setup. So, and at that point, I'll give you more information on what I use for my setup. Good question. Thank you very much. Clive asks, Simon, is the upcoming R8 better than the R7? What do you think will be good? Well, Clive, let's just look at how Canon names things. Whenever they use a number on stills hybrid cameras, such as, let's look at the 1DX Mark III. The 1 means that it's top of the line. There isn't going to be a camera higher than that. So when Canon comes out with the R1, it's going to be their best stills hybrid camera. Now keep in mind, Canon, they see this as a stills hybrid camera, not a video hybrid camera. So there's going to be some video, but usually at that one level, it's all focused on stills first, and the compromises usually will go more towards the video side. So as we come down to the R5 is kind of a carryover from the 5D Mark IV. It's that same series, the 5 series. So it's several levels below the 1DX. It's several levels below that flagship camera, but it's still a very solid camera. It is the go-to camera for most professionals. The 1DX is really designed at people that want to shoot a lot of frames. It's high speed, fast action. It's the Olympics. It's golf. Yes, believe it or not, it's used in golf a lot. Car racing, that kind of thing where you're shooting a lot of frames. So as we increase in numbers, like the R6 will likely be a full frame camera if we look at how they named the 1D, the 5D, the 6D. So I'd expect the R6 to be full frame, and then the R7 will be a high-end APS-C R system camera. So as we go up in numbers, we lose capability, but we benefit from a lower price. So what do I think will be better? It's really hard to say. I'm really curious to know what the R7 is going to look like, that high-end APS-C camera. I think that could potentially send a very clear signal to many on what Canon's future is for the EFM system. But I'm also curious to see what the R6 offers. It's their entry-level. Well, that's interesting. It was their entry level on the 60, but we've already got the RP, and we know we're going to have a cheaper version of that coming out, and another camera that's going to sit between the EOS R and the R6. So I wonder if that R6 is going to be that camera that sits in between the two. We'll just have to wait and see. Again, we're dealing with rumors. We don't have a lot of specs, and we don't have any leaked specs at this time. So what we mostly have is a little bit of conjecture. Joey asks, what would they sell as a kit lens for an RF mount APS-C body? The 24-105 isn't wide enough for APS-C standard zoom lenses, in my opinion. I think we need the 18-55mm RF. Well, if we look back to the 5D, Canon really loved to give people that 24-105 as a kit lens. And we've got two versions here. We've got the f4 version, which I have, which is f4 throughout the entire range, and it's weather sealed, and that's really huge. We've got the other one, which is I think the f4 to 7.1. It's not weather sealed. So you've got, sorry about that, I forgot to put the mute on the phone. So the 24-105, we have a weather sealed version, which is around $1,000, $1,100, and then we got the one that isn't weather sealed, which is the 24-105 f4 to 7.1, and it's around $400. I personally, I really love that 24-105. I came from an APS-C where I had the 18-135 USM or STM. Actually, I had both. And that equates to about 28-235, so it wasn't very wide. So the 24-105 I find wider, but it doesn't allow me to punch in as much. But I'm not finding that a really big deal. With my Astro work that I'm doing, I'll usually punch in post, or I'll film in crop mode. I've got the R5, I've got the megapixels for that. It's really, so the question you're asking me is, what do I think Canon will do? And what I think Canon will do, they could put something like an 18-55 in there. They could put the 24-105, or they could do what they did with the R5, and they didn't immediately release a kit. And I think what they were doing is waiting to see which lens were selling, and then they provided a kit option in some countries, but not all. I don't know. I don't like the 18-55 because while it's wide, it doesn't give me enough zoom. It really gives me very little. And I really like the 24-105 f4. It's a great general purpose lens. I would rather see myself a 14, 16, or 18 millimeter prime over an 18-55, but that's just me. But I think, I don't know, the 18-105 f4 to 7.1 is a pretty good option. But we'll just have to wait and see what Canon thinks, because quite often what we think makes sense doesn't always make sense to Canon. Hi Simon, I love my R5 for photography, but I'm building out my kit. I currently have the RF 35mm f1.8, RF 50mm f1.8, 85mm f2, RF 24-70, 70-200 f2.8. I would like some faster primes, but I'm waiting on Sigma to release some. How soon till we see the first rollout of Sigma RF lenses in your estimation? Well, the rumors are saying 2021, but these are not what I consider CR2 or CR3 rumors, as Canon rumors would say. I think these are rather, well, yeah, duh. 2021 is a good opportunity to see some of these lenses, but I'm not giving them any credit at this point. I, like you, would love to see some wide primes, as I just mentioned in a previous question. 14, 18, 16, 20 millimeter. I think 16 millimeter would be perfect for me. I'd really love to see some of these, and I don't care who makes it, whether it's Canon or whether it's Sigma or Tamron or Bob's uncle. I don't know. I really do want to see these lenses. And as far as lens rumors goes, they're a dime a dozen. I've got over 30 rumored lenses that are supposed to be coming out for the RF full frame, let alone APS-C. We just have to wait and see. I'm sorry that there's just not a lot of rumors coming out on lenses. 2021 perhaps, but it's definitely not going to be in the first 3 months because we're not hearing anything leaking at this point. Usually we start to get leaks within a month to 3 before something actually comes out. Nikan asks, with the rumors of a new 8K and 12K capable camera and TV video broadcasting of the Euro football and Olympics, will computer and TV manufacturers need to do any work to be able to get their products to support these new broadcast standards? Nikan, that's a really good question. And based on the feedback of last week, I'm bringing back Moving Matt, who's got an answer to this question. Moving Matt?
Thanks, Simon. Hey everyone, welcome to Moving Matt. My name is Jim. I'm just kidding. So hey Nikan, that's a really interesting question. At first, I thought the answer would be a little bit more straightforward, but there definitely is some nuance here, and that raises even more questions. So there's really two ways to view this question. One is from a consumer side, and the other is from a broadcasting side. So let me answer the first part first, because that's usually the order in which things are done, and it's also the most straightforward. So from a consumer side, we will not need 8K screens for us to watch the Olympics and other 8K broadcasting events. Just like how we can view a 4K broadcasting event now on a 1080p screen, it'll really be a similar situation. You'll just be viewing it at a lower resolution. Not sure if that was what you were curious about, but I figured I'd answer it from that side first because it also answers part of the next question. Will companies need their own 8K displays for editing footage from the Olympics? Again, the answer is no. Similar to how most people who have an R5 do not edit the 8K footage on an 8K display, the color gamut and HDR is really what has to be taken into account more than resolution. That's why we have BT 2020 to Rec 709 conversions and LUTs. But that doesn't simply put everything to rest, because companies and broadcasters still have a really big job to do. While doing research to answer this question, I talked to a friend of mine who works as a video editor for a large university. He gave me a lot of insight about broadcasting. He said broadcasters will have to update a whole lot of hardware and software to deal with 8K. For example, their switchers. That is the equipment you see in movies where there is a room full of TVs and someone will say, "Cut to camera 2," and you see someone press a button and pull a switch. That equipment will have to be updated to process the insane amount of data coming from an 8K stream. That is just one of the many bottlenecks that they will have to address. The sheer amount of equipment that they will need to update is the reason it took so long for everything to go HD in the first place. And now we are doing it all over again with 8K. Another question that Simon brought to my attention is how will they deal with cameras of different resolutions? Will they be able to mix a 1080p and 4K footage and still broadcast at 8K? I asked him about that as well, and he said that as of right now, it is possible to mix different resolution cameras together in a 4K broadcast. So he thinks it's definitely possible. But he also thinks that an event like the Olympics, where they have the budget and are advertising that it's going to be 8K, that all the footage that we're going to see broadcasted will be coming from an 8K camera. Now, of course, they will be using cinema and broadcast cameras for the large majority of their shots, but that actually leaves me with a question. If the reason Sony and Nikon are putting no overheating 8K functionality into the A9 III and Z9 is for the Olympics, will the Canon R1 take a hit if it doesn't offer 8K, kind of like the rumors are suggesting? Maybe Simon can give his thoughts on that. But Nikan, I hope I understood and answered your question properly. You can always leave a follow-up questions in the comments below and I will do my best to respond. But until next time, back to you, Simon.
Thanks a lot, Moving Matt. I really appreciate you taking time out of your week just before Christmas to answer a question. And guys, please visit Moving Matt. He's done a lot of great videos in the last little while. And I'm sure he'd love you guys to subscribe and like his videos. Christopher Stanley asks, does the C90 equal the XC20? Could we see the XC form factor in the new lower-end cinema cameras? Well, Christopher, I think what we're going to see more of, if you look at the C70, I think we're going to see that body also used for the C90 and the C50. And we'll just have to wait to see when they come out. But that's kind of my guess. I mean, you could be right, but we've got no leaks whatsoever on what the new ones are going to look like, so it's mostly conjecture at this point. But I could see them, just leveraging the same dies and same size as the C70. The C70 is kind of, well, when it comes to cinema cameras, it's more affordable. Right now, it's around what, $5,300, $5,400. I think the C50 is going to be the cheaper one, and the C90 is going to be more capable. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'd expect to hear more on these two cameras as we enter the new year. I wouldn't be surprised if we have an announcement before the end of March. Jean-Michel asks, will you switch from Canon R5 to Sony? Yes, but I have currently spent about $13,000 Canadian on my R5 infrastructure. That's a lot of money. I definitely haven't made that much back on YouTube at this point. So when I say yes, I'm willing to. If somebody was going to provide me with the Sony a7S III, for example, with the Zeiss 50mm, I think it's the 1.4, then yeah, I will switch over and I will use the a7S III as my camera for this channel. I really do want to get a Sony a7S III in here. I've been wanting it for a long time. My plans were to have it by August, but a previous offer fell through, leaving me without the Sony a7S III. And now here we are in December. A lot of the hype has died down, but I'm still really curious to have that camera. I want to try it out for months. Just as I had the R5 for 5 months, I've used it day in and day out. I think the best way to review a camera, the best way to use a camera, is by making it your default camera, living with it, sleeping with it, day in and day out is the only way to truly get to know it. So yes, I'm willing to do it, but at this point, for me to lay out another probably good $10,000 Canadian to get all the kit, because they don't use the same CF Express cards, they use what, Type A? So I've got to buy more of those. I need to buy new lenses. I can use the same tripod. I can use the same teleprompter system. But a lot of the kit, the lenses, I've got to get that to start off with. And I just don't have a business case based on the channel's income, which right now this month I'm probably tracking to make about $600 US off YouTube. Last month I made $624, which is less than half I was making in June and July when the Sony a7S III and the R5 were big news items. That's my honest opinion. I really do want the Sony a7S III to have on this channel. I'm super excited by that camera, but sadly, I just can't justify the extra cost and investment at this point. So if you would like to send me one, I'd be extremely happy. But no, and I'm not asking you guys to send me cameras, camera bodies, and lenses. I'm just letting you know that it takes an awful lot of investment, not just in time, but in equipment to get you up to a certain level. And still at around 20,000 subscribers, I'm not big enough that the major companies such as Panasonic, Canon, and Sony are going to start sending me bodies and say, yeah, review this, and by the way, you can keep it if you like. I'm not at that level yet. I'm not a Fro Nose. I'm not a Peter Gregg. I'm not a Tony Northrup. It's going to take, or a DP Review. And I really love those guys. They're also two guys that kind of help get me started. I kind of see myself a bit more of a Jordan because he's more on the video side, and Chris. That's why I like to get the Village Mayor up here every now and then to do videos with him, because it feels like an East Coast version of DP Review. DP Reviews, Chris and Jordan. So yeah, I'm willing to switch over. It's just I don't have the budget, the financing in place to be able to do that at this point. Yusuf asks, hey Simon, do you use a teleprompter for some of your videos? And if so, any recommendations? Believe it or not, I probably spent about a good month or so looking at teleprompters, wondering if they were going to be something useful to me, how expensive they would be. And they're not cheap, but they're not expensive, and it depends on how you do it. So first of all, let me give you an idea of my setup. So you can see my desk right here. You can see the wall behind me, and I'm actually using a rig there with a black cloth hanging down. It's something like 12 feet by 10 feet or something like that. And the number of lights that I've got, you'll see the colored lights in the back there. I've got 4 colored lights. And everything I'm going to tell you is in the description down below. Those lights I turn on individually. They're about 20 bucks each. And also right behind me, if we move like this, you can see there's another white light, and it's shining on that plant there. Then right above me, aiming at 45 degrees, is a LED panel light. I have 2 LED panel lights here that are almost facing each other, but I have them tilted ever so slightly so I'm not getting a ton of glare off me. And then I've got a ring light at 45 degrees hitting me this side. So this side should be a little bit less bright as this side. So I got a bit more dynamic range on me. And then in front here, I have a mini table, which is where I put the laptop. And this touchpad here allows me to advance frames when I need to go on to the next question or whatever else I'm trying to present. Then I have a tripod, and it's a rather cheap tripod. The video tripod I bought, the really good one, I use for a lot of outdoor stuff. And this one's not bad. I got the name of that in the description down below. I don't remember. And then on top of that sits the Glide Gear TMP100 teleprompter. I think this was $199 US. Pretty affordable. I was able to get it shipped up in here to Canada for $300 from B&H. I couldn't source it locally. And a lot of my stuff, I want to give a big shout out to Patrick at Downtown Camera. He's always given me really good deals. He gave me a deal off the Canon R5 when I got that way back early on. And he's given me a deal on everything I bought. And that's not just because I have a channel. I've talked to many people who said, yes, Simon, I bought gear from Patrick. And he's giving them discounts too. So if you're in Canada, check with Patrick at Downtown Camera. But we're a smaller country. We don't have the inventory that some stores like B&H do. So B&H is a great place to buy this. It took me a week to get it. So $200. But it doesn't give you everything you need. You still need a tablet. I'm using the iPad, the 10-inch version, and it's just the basic, the cheap one. It's $429 Canadian, so it's probably around $269 or something US. And I put that down, and then it basically displays, and then the teleprompter puts it back to me. So I'm looking directly at you right now, but I'm also looking at the words on the teleprompter. One other thing. Then you've also got the software. And the software makes a huge difference too. So for example, I also have an app on here, and you can see it's got the play icon there because I'm not using the teleprompter right now. For this video here, there wasn't really a lot of need for it. The simple reason is I just want to do my intro, so I read off my intro. And then after I said, and our first questions from Day, I was completely ad-libbing it. I knew what I needed to say. The question was enough to prompt me. But what this allows me to do is I can stop and start. I can move it up and down. And yes, I know what you're thinking. What's the name of it? Well, it's called Prompt Smart. I think it's around $30 US. And yes, you can find cheaper. There's some other good ones out there. But this one here, don't think twice about it. You've spent money on everything else. You want to use this one here. It's really, really good. And what's really great about it If you pause, if you stop, it stops. It listens to your voice. This thing is about 6 feet away from me, and it's working perfectly fine without me having to have another microphone tied into it. I'm really, really impressed with the software. Now, once in a while, it'll jump ahead a few screens, but that's where the app comes in, and I don't have to get up from my chair. The app on the phone, it's $2 a month. It's kind of strange. You spend the $30 and you have to spend $2 a month. Not super expensive. You're not going to miss it. But if you're doing a lot of this stuff, the $2 a month, it's going to pay for itself. It's really wonderful. Now, there's some videos. I just did a video on the R5, the R6, and the EOS R. And that video was a very long video. It was research for months and months. I've been writing it for months, and then I go back and tweak it. That was a, 30, 34, 35-minute video, and all that was scripted. And that was important, so I don't forget any thoughts. I don't miss information. I don't get things wrong. I don't transpose words. It's very helpful for that. For other videos like this one here, I might just have the intro, then I'll have some bullet points, so I remember to say certain things after I've gone through all the questions. So it's a really, really good setup. And if you guys have any questions at all about the specifics of the gear that I'm using, put it in a question down below in the comment section. But if you're interested in one-on-one, you want to talk to me for up to an hour, you want to ask me questions specific to your own scenario, US $50. $50 for a full hour. The link is in the description down below. It's through a site called Verbling. They handle all the scheduling, the messaging, and everything like that. So, and you can even ask me questions there, and it's almost like a live question and answer, well, with a delay, of course. So that's another option too. But really great question. Yeah, it's the Glide Gear TMP 100. John asks, are you going to be doing any setup videos for any of the new gear you're going to be getting for Christmas? Maybe. John, you shouldn't be surprised by this, but I bought all my gear right around Black Friday. So I got the 50mm, the RF 50mm f1.2. That was around $3,000 US. The 2x extender, which was around $900 US. And the 800mm lens that I'm totally in love with, the RF 800mm f11, that I paid about, I guess, $900 as well. So that was my kit. I also bought a tripod, a Manfrotto 504X with aluminum tripod. So as far as camera gear goes, that is it for Christmas. I would really love to, you know what? I'd really love to be able to open up a box and there'd be a Ninja 5 in there, external recorder. That would make me really, really excited. But that's it. But I want to tell you a little secret. I'm going to be quiet because my son, he's a little sneaky. I'm in the basement here and you can't see the vents, but if you're familiar with how HVACs are set up, you have these long aluminum ducts, and what he will do is he'll put his ear to the ducts in his room and he'll talk to me that way. And even through 3 floors, it's almost like he's right there. So I want to tell you a little secret I'm getting, and this might make a really, really good video. I've already bought, it's under the tree, it's wrapped up, and it's the Lego Saturn V rocket. This thing is 1 meter tall, so 3.3 feet. It's about this tall. It's got the lander, it's got everything, and I'm super excited about putting that set together. It's 2,000 pieces. What I'm probably going to do, so we can tie it back to cameras, is I'm going to use the intervalometer, and I'm going to set it to, a frame every second or so. I'm not sure how long. I'm going to try to get it so that over the entire build it's, a couple of minutes. And I'll probably do a frame every minute, putting this thing together. And I think that will be super exciting for him, for me, and also for you guys to see what it's like to put together this kind of build. But there is one thing I'm working on that I mentioned in a previous question. And if you're skipping ahead or you're going in different orders based on the chapters down below, I'm putting together a video. I'm taking all my moon shots. I'm shooting more. I've got some great video of Saturn on Jupiter, but I want to capture more, and I'm going to put together like a 32-minute video. And all it is just shots of the moon slowly moving, no fast edits. Same with Jupiter, different shots of the moon in different phases, all the different planets that I can get. And what I'm planning on doing is just put that to some very relaxing music. So yeah, you can sit down and watch it during the middle of the day if you want. And if you're into that kind of thing, it's jaw-dropping. I already put out a copy to test it on my TV. I got an LG 4K TV, and it's just stunning. It really is. But what it's really designed for, and there's going to be no speaking at all. It's just going to go right into the video. I will have some text for some of you, and all this is designed for is for people that are having trouble sleeping. It's a good video to fall asleep to, and I think half an hour is pretty good, and you can always loop it. until you fall asleep. So that's something I'm working on doing. I really can't get enough of this 800 millimeter. It's an awful lot of fun. I was out last night, and you're not going to believe this, but I was getting it set up because the clouds were just going over, and they weren't too thick because you could see a little bit of the moon. But then when I looked through the LCD, the moon looked perfectly clear through the LCD, and I'm going, but you're cutting through cloud levels. So I started recording, and when I got into the house, while there's a little bit of noise because I had to put the ISO up to about 1600, otherwise I wouldn't see it. And that's by lifting the ISO, I was able to get the moon. You can see the clouds going over top of it, and that was pretty exciting. So you're going to get to see the moon in many different phases and in different conditions, and that's something I really want to get out by this weekend. But since Friday, when I actually got Jupiter and Saturn, and I was going to do a whole live view on that, we haven't had a clear night since. And the clouds basically, or the Jupiter and Saturn set by about 7 o'clock at night. So I'm really hoping tonight, they're saying it's going to be cloudy with some sunny periods. Well, it won't be sunny after 5 o'clock, but I'm really hoping between 5 and 7 o'clock tonight I can get out there and get some shots. So yeah, went off in the weeds again, didn't I? So yeah, John, yeah, so that's my answer to any videos over Christmas. And of course, this video is showing up right after Christmas. I'm not stopping. This is part of my hobby. In Ontario, we're completely locked down now. So once again, the channel is stopping me from going bonkers. Lyndon asks, other than obvious time to build, etc., what do you think it would be like to order a camera to the specs that you'd like? Choose the sensor, processor, card slots, rear screen size, or DPI. If you want more for video or photography or both, totally customizable. I know it would always take time to build and imagine just getting the camera built just for you the way you want it. Yeah, I mean, that really is awesome. It's like design, it's architecting and engineering the camera yourself. It kind of reminds me of a friend of mine who's actually, and this is a true story, he's building his own operating system. He's building it in machine code from the very base up. He's not borrowing any libraries. He's actually reading RFCs. Yeah, going to RFCs to learn how to do things such as all the basics, building everything from scratch. And he's been working on it for a few years. And I'm not going to really say any more because I can't steal his thunder and I don't want to get anything out there. But the level of effort to architect and build something like that would probably be the same as a camera. So the amount of knowledge you would have just to pick the right sensor size, the right frequency and all that and make everything work, it would be equivalent to trying to build a rocket and send it to the moon. The level of knowledge you would need, it's just truly incredible. But you see, that's where dreams come in. To be able to dream your perfect camera, to be able to make minor tweaks and see what the ramifications were, to have some sort of simulator, like remember SimCity? But for cameras, I think it's a wonderful dream and it's a wonderful idea. And yes, while the application wouldn't work, don't stop dreaming, Lyndon, because it's things like this, it's asking questions like this that allow humanity to move forward, to innovate. Yeah, truly exciting. And of course, with 3D printers, not the ones today, but in the future, who knows, right? Just look at Star Trek and the replicator. You can tell the computer, give me a camera that does this kind of imaging, that this kind of frame rate and all that. So I do know that by the 23rd century, we will have something like that. But in the meantime, I think it's still a bit of a dream. But it's an awesome dream, Lyndon. And our last question is from Paul Edwards. What does the F in f-stop stand for? Well, it actually stands for focal. And it's actually a ratio of the focal length to the diameter. And here's an actual full definition for you. It is the ratio of the lens focal length to the diameter of the lens opening. And the formula is n equals f over d, where f is the focal length of the lens in millimeters and d is the diameter of the aperture in millimeters. We often wonder, we take for granted certain things because I know, and like you know, it refers to the aperture, it's the opening of the lens, right? And we know what f1.2 versus f4.5 means to a full frame versus an APS-C, but sometimes we never stop to ponder and ask, well, what does actually the f mean in f-stop? And yeah, it's a really good question. I love questions like that. Sometimes I save a soft question for the end, but I wanted to sort of end on a nice math question because, f over d. Is it f over? Yes, n equals f over d. So really good question. And this one's a rather short one for this week because Christmas Well, it was yesterday, but I'm shooting this on Wednesday before Christmas because I want to spend time with the family on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But I've got a bit of an update for you guys, a little bit of behind the scenes. Marty, you guys can give Marty a hard time. He's asking me like every day, when are we going to have a chance to buy ordinary filmmaker gear, hats, t-shirts. Okay, no, golf shirts, t-shirts, hoodies, that sort of thing. I'm working with a company right now. I just had a meeting earlier today. Things are going quite well. Now, I don't expect to have a prototype for a couple of weeks, but once I get a prototype, then that's an opportunity for me to look at it and see how closely it represents this, because I've sent them high-resolution images from the R5 of different angles because I want to replicate the type of fabric, the look of it, the feel of it, and the font. And we're going to come up with 2 hats. I'm not going to give you guys like 50 different options. Less is more. I'm going to basically come up with the same gray color, and I'll give you a choice of like a white or a pink. My wife has the pink one, and she really likes it. And it was really her idea to come up with these. So I'll be making them available. And the whole plan is in Canada, the United States, and Europe. I think Europe will have 4 different distribution sites, so you're not going to have to pay a ton of money for shipping. And my goal is to actually have the shipping baked into the price. We're discussing different options right now, whether it's just baked into the price so we don't even have to worry about shipping, or whether it is another option for the shipping is if you buy a certain amount, like $50, then it's free shipping. Some options, so this is not going to be super expensive. I'm not looking at, trying to choose my words carefully here, I'm not trying to hurt you guys on price. I'm not trying to make a huge amount of money off this. I love the gear myself. I love wearing the hat. I know you guys, some of you guys really love it too. So I want to give you the option of being able to buy gear that you like. That also helps support the channel. And once we've got the hat figured out, then I'm going to look at golf shirts where I'll take the logo and I'll put it here somewhere like Lacoste has done. It's not going to be big and bold. It's going to be conservative, just taking up a small place. I'm not going to do Tommy Hilfiger with the names all over the place or anything like that. But t-shirts might have a little bit of fun with. We might do stuff like that with logos, and maybe I'll actually ask you guys for ideas on what shirts should look like. Maybe I'll do a contest. We can have fun with this stuff. When do I think these will be available? Well, if everything goes well with the company I'm dealing with, within a month to 2 months at the earliest, I think this could be possible, and it's rather exciting. So, and of course, I'm on the verge of hitting that 20,000 mark. We've only got 890 subscribers left to go at this point on Wednesday. So that's a really huge milestone for me. So again, thank you to you guys for supporting the channel, for commenting. You wait, over the next couple of months, you're going to see a lot of really, really positive changes. That's going to be on the engagement side of this business, more ways to reach out to me, to contact me, calls, video, all sorts of things. New ways of being able to accumulate points. Not just, for one person who can win a camera or a lens or the prize of the month, for example. We're going to have other prizes, which you're going to be able to earn points by commenting on other things, or even get discounts off gear like hats. So if you're like Marty and others who are putting a lot of comments in, you're going to earn points. You're going to be able to get hats and other gear for cheaper. So this is all stuff that we're working on right now. But that's it for now. I want to wish everybody a happy Christmas, which I know was yesterday. So happy Boxing Day and Happy New Year. And I'm trying to remember some of the other holidays that are right around now. The Festival of Lights, which is coming up, and then there's another Festival of Lights. So please, everyone, stay safe. Have a great holidays with your friends and family. And, just stay safe. And I wish all the best for you in the new year. But don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win the Synco Lab S6C and M3 shotgun microphones. I'll be awarding these prizes to one lucky viewer once the channel reaches 20,000. And then I'll offer up a different and more expensive prize every 10,000 or so subscribers until the channel reaches 100,000. At which point, I'll be awarding or offering up a Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. And on that bombshell, happy Christmas, happy New Year, happy holidays, and thanks for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. We'll see you again soon.